This episode is brought to you by San Pellegrino Ciao. A gift from Italy to your home. San Pellegrino Ciao is a flavored sparkling water made with real fruit juice, finished with a pinch of Sicilian salt for a perfectly balanced taste. So which flavor will you choose? Peach, lime, blood orange, cherry, or maybe the all-new limoncello? Crafted in Italy with 0 grams of added sugar. San Pellegrino Ciao. Buy it now.
This episode is brought to you by Fox One. Watch all 104 matches of the FIFA World Cup live in 4K for just $19.99 a month with 3 days free. Build your own multi-view, choose up to 3 streams, and follow player spotlights. Stay on top of every moment with live stats, highlights, and instant replays. The FIFA World Cup, streaming live on Fox One. Offers are subject to change. See fox.com for complete terms and conditions.
The Rita Cosby Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Feisty, fearless, and fair. She's an Emmy-winning journalist from the White House to war zones, telling all sides of the story. This is the Rita Cosby Show. Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, there was a shooting sending tourists running in Times Square just a few hours ago. Luckily, a suspect is in custody. And of course, all this comes as 2 million people attended, according to the NYPD, coming out to celebrate the New York Knicks, the big NBA champions. And of course, making history for their incredible accomplishments. Of course, taking down the San Antonio Spurs in Game 5 to win the team's first NBA championship since 1973. And here is Knicks announcer Mike Breen announcing the team as they were coming down the streets of New York, and the streets were packed.
Ladies and gentlemen, your 2026 NBA champion New York Knicks.
Breaking news.
And also tonight, some other big news just coming in. We were together on primary night this week, and now the race has been called for Washington, D.C. And yeah, it is a Democratic socialist who has won the Democratic mayoral primary. Janice Lewis George officially declared the winner. And part of her mantra has been to fight off the federal intervention, the federal government, go up against Trump. And President Trump has already said that if she were to win, that there might be a takeover once again of the nation's capital. So this is going to get messy. And now it is a sign of the times with more Democratic socialists hopping on board, and they're coming up all over the country. How concerned are you about this trend? I'll tell you, I am. And we're definitely going to talk quite a bit about that today. Here is just a little bit ago, New York City Mayor Zoran Mondani. He's at a rally in Brooklyn with Bernie Sanders. And he said this is not just a one-off because he's supporting 3 different candidates, some of them more extreme than the next. They're all abolish ICE. They're all anti-police, anti-Israel. And here it is. Here's Zoran Mondani saying this is the beginning of what he hopes will be a national trend.
Now, this is a moment of more, of asking for more, of expecting more, of delivering more. We won't answer to those who insist we settle for less any longer. Now, people often ask me what I think of the state of the Democratic Party. This slate here today is our answer.
Breaking news.
And just in, boy, is this a busy news night. We're learning here on the Rita Cosby Show, there are reports that the trip by J.D. Vance to go to Switzerland to continue talking about this memorandum of understanding between the U.S. and Iran, that apparently that trip has now been canceled for now, as of a little bit ago. J.D. Vance, the vice president, speaking at the White House, and he was saying at the White House today that he is planning to go over to Switzerland to work out all the deals, that he could be leaving as early as tonight. And now, for some reason, they have decided not to go. This comes as the Supreme Leader is putting out all this rhetoric, all this bluster, all of these different comments, and sounding extremely defiant and extremely arrogant. And today, J.D. Vance came out to the White House and he had to defend the memorandum of understanding. Now, by the way, and we talked about this last night, guys, I want to hear from you on this. There's a lot of layers to this. One of the things I was hearing former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo say, it really comes down to 3 M's. He was saying it comes down to the fact that he doesn't like in this deal, Iran can still keep some missiles. He doesn't like in this deal that Iran can get access to money, not U.S. money, but other money. And then he also doesn't like the fact that he doesn't think that anybody in the Iranian regime, that there are any moderates. Quite frankly, he very much is right, I think, on a lot of fronts. There are a lot of people who are very passionate about this, including me and including many of you. I also took issue. I did not like some of the comments from J.D. Vance today at the White House, blasting Israel. We're going to get to that because earlier today we were talking with Mark Levin. He was outraged by the comments from J.D. Vance. We're going to get to that too as well. But first, here is J.D. Vance touting the deal and also just saying, look, trust in Trump. Take a listen.
I would say to anybody, any of the critics, is number one, have a little bit of faith in the President of the United States. The idea that he is going to strike a deal that's been bad for the American people, it's preposterous. He is the person who has had the courage to fundamentally transform our relationship with Iran and with a lot of other countries over the last year and a half. He believes in this deal. He is going to see it to completion, and if the Iranians don't comply, we still have every single tool and point of leverage that we have today. That'd be message number one, is have a little faith in the president's ability, given that he's got us this far, to take us the final step.
And I do, and that's the good news. I do believe in Trump. I believe that he will absolutely pound them to smithereens if they violate any of these agreements. But you're already hearing from Iran, from the Supreme Leader, even if he's alive. We don't even know if he is. But this is the son of the Supreme Leader, the new Supreme Leader. And the reports that he may or may not be incapacitated. Who knows? But he hasn't been seen. But via statement, he certainly is blasting the United States, essentially saying, we didn't agree to all these things, but I'll still kind of go forward with it. But I'm trusting the U.S., blasting the U.S., obviously a lot of it for his own public consumption, but it's concerning. I agree with Mike Pompeo that there are no moderates in Iran. I have zero faith in Iran, but I do have a lot of faith in President Trump. But he is taking a lot of verbal incoming, and that includes from some in his own party. You could tell he is dealing with a lot of people saying this deal does not go far enough. It needs to have a lot of guarantees. It's way too vague. There are a lot of things like that. And here is Senator Ted Cruz, big supporter of the president, but he said, who's in the president's ear on this one?
Giving billions of dollars to theocratic lunatics who want to murder us is not a good idea. I think the president, unfortunately, is receiving bad advice on this deal.
He says the president is getting bad advice on this one. I think, look, the president clearly wanted gas prices to go down. They already have. He wanted oil prices to go down. They already have dramatically. And they will continue to do so. And he will also continue to keep Iran in check. The question is, what kind of latitude will he give Iran? Can we trust them that any dollars that go to them, not U.S. dollars, but still dollars are fungible, guys. I don't think they should get a dime. There are a lot of people out there who feel the same way. I do not like them getting a dime from anybody at this point. And I think they should have finished the job militarily maybe a few weeks ago as opposed to waiting on this ceasefire. I give him credit for waiting. I give him credit for looking for peace. But I also wish that Iran had been pounded to the smithereens. Maybe then who knows what the deal would have been. But here is Senator Chuck Schumer, because, of course, him and the Democrats, they are going off on President Trump.
This is not the art of the deal. This is the art of surrender. Trump didn't get peace through strength. He got payoff through weakness. Americans got almost nothing we wanted and needed, and Trump gave away the store. The Iranians took him to the cleaners. Look what they're getting. They got more control of the Strait of Hormuz. They're getting a $300 million payoff, which we Democrats are not going to vote for. No one should vote for it. This money should be used at home where it's needed to reduce people's costs, not as a payoff to the Iranians. He still has his missiles. The Iranians still have their missiles. The oil prices and gas prices will stay higher for a long time. Basically, Iran got just about everything it wanted, and we got nothing.
Wow, it sounded like he dropped the plates on that one, like at a Greek wedding or something. Boom, I'm done with those. There are a lot of different reactions today, and obviously the devil's in the details, and we're still waiting to hear more of the details. And also, will Iran adhere to it? We know last night a whole bunch of oil came through the Strait of Hormuz. And we know also last night there were no drones fired at those commercial ships. We know that they came through with their transponders on, so they didn't have to hide. So that's a good thing, too. So is this the beginning of peace? Or is it just sort of a temporary hoopla? And who knows where it's going to go? 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Listen, I've known President Trump a long time. I trust in Trump. What's going to happen when he's out of the White House? And how much latitude will he give Iran between now and the midterms? 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Al in Yonkers on line 5. Go ahead, Al.
Yeah, thanks, Rita. J.D. Vance, he runs the risk, the Republican primaries next time around. You're going to see a lot of contenders for the presidency in the Republican.
In the arena. I agree.
You're going to see guys like Tim Cotton. So
Rubio, by the way, Rubio, I think is going to be in that race.
Yeah, definitely. There'll be many, formidable candidates. But the problem with J.D. Vance is he has to realize, other than New Hampshire and Iowa, the caucus, when you move south, a lot of these MAGA voters don't like this deal. Like, for instance, in South Carolina, the Southern strategy. So this could hurt J.D. Vance moving forward. So for him to come out and criticize Israel, where a lot of senators in the South, like Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz in Texas, a powerful senator, they're very supportive of the state of Israel. So I think J.D. Vance, the vice president, really has to, politically, should walk a fine line. In 1988, then George Bush I was the vice president under Reagan, and that gave him a head start against Bob Dole and all. But just because he's the vice president, J.D. Vance, doesn't mean it's a foregone conclusion, as you know, of course, that this can't hurt his prospects down the road.
Yeah, what did you make of his criticism, by the way, of Israel? He essentially said that, the U.S. is the only country that is sympathetic to Israel right now. That was a surprising comment to me. At a time right now where Israel is clearly taking a lot of incoming, and I found it actually quite shocking.
Yeah, so did I, but I was not totally surprised. I don't know that much about Tucker Carlson and them, or Charlie Kirk's widow, or the other ones who are, seem to get a label of being anti-Semitic in that fringe group there. But he seems to have some kind of connection there. So I'm not saying he's at all anti-Israel, but, I don't think we should throw the Israelis under the bus. I mean, they were sidelined during this negotiation, and to me, I find that troublesome.
Yeah, I agree. I found some of the things that he said quite shocking. I want to play cut number 6. This is J.D. Vance. Take a listen to this, Al, because he was asked a bit about Israel. Hang tight. Here it is.
I've heard you actually say that you think Israel and the United States have two different objectives as it relates to, I don't want to mischaracterize your words, but...
Well, what I'd say is that we're different countries with different interests. Yeah. I think in the United States, sometimes people characterize, Israel is a good partner to the United States. That is true. But sometimes people mischaracterize it and say that Israel and the United States are fundamentally always aligned. It's just not true. We're different countries. We have different needs. We have different geographies.
Do you trust them?
I don't trust anybody. When it comes to international affairs and diplomacy, do I think that they're very capable? Absolutely. Do I think that, again, when we have shared interests, we work together very well? Absolutely. But I don't trust anyone. And I think that we just have to continually be laser focused on what our interests are.
And that was mild, Al. That was mild. I'll play the more severe comment shortly, but that was very mild. But clearly, he is separating himself from Israel. Real quick, your thoughts, Al.
Yeah, sometimes you're influenced from your spouse. From what I've read and seen in the past, his wife is much more progressive than she appears to be. Her upbringing in San Diego, she was very much more to the left in college, going to, I think it was Yale or Harvard. So a lot of times you're influenced by your spouse. And also, basically, I just don't think we should, sideline Israel. I think when the president went in there, when he conferred with Netanyahu, he knew the risk. Going in there, unfortunately, this was not Venezuela. Iran is a large country. There's many
by the way, Al, 100%. You're right. This is a whole different ball game, very different. And President knew that, and he certainly knows who he's dealing with when he's dealing with Iran. But he has been a great president to Israel, which is why I think some of the comments today were surprising from J.D. Vance. We're going to get into that more after the break. Al, thank you very much. And everybody, we will continue with your calls in just a moment.
The Rita Cosby Show, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, Fidelity. Can I get a second opinion on stocks in the Fidelity app?
With Fidelity, it's easy to get an outside opinion from independent experts in a single score.
And then?
When you're ready, trade U.S. stocks and ETFs with no commissions.
That's right.
I am always right.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. $0 commission does not apply to customers designated by Fidelity as a professional equity trader. A limited number of ETFs are subject to a service fee of $100. See details at fidelity.com/commissions. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC.
Need a laptop that's built to perform and designed to last all day? Select Windows 11 PCs starting at $499.99 are now at Best Buy. Learn more at bestbuy.com. Best Buy. Imagine that.
Choice Hotels get you more of what you value. Comfort Inn. It's calling your name. Save on the stay. Oh, and free waffles are yours to claim. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities, so do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And is there a moment that's slipping in this case? I do trust in Trump. Let's go real quick to Sal in New Jersey, line 3. Sal, you have a few seconds. Go ahead.
Hello, Rita. Rita, I just want to say real quick, I think that if you want to curse the United States, curse Israel, because Israel is the best hope of the United States. They're a great ally. They've been a great blessing to the United States. We get so many benefits, scientific, economic, militarily, and every other way from Israel.
I agree. By the way, Sal, 100%. That alliance is so great for both countries. Both are fighters of freedom, and I don't like to see any division.
The Rita Cosby Show, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from St. George, Utah, where in the city, which is located in southwestern Utah on the Arizona-Utah border, residents of an apartment building woke up terrified to the yelling calls of police officers working to rescue them from an apartment blaze. How scary is that? Suddenly, body cam footage shows cops busting down the apartment door of a sleeping family, saying, "Your unit's on fire, your unit's on fire, get out." Residents obviously were startled. One officer physically guiding a shirtless resident through his living room in very orange-tinged air and through flames, saying, "Come on, come on, come on, we got to run out." Then an officer yells out and says, "There is one more guy upstairs." And the officers run up through the flames, getting everybody out. The dramatic body cam footage shows the officers calmly evacuating also 2 small children as the kids' family comforts them. Luckily, everybody got out alive. One officer at the very end of the video literally gets out and the roof collapses. Really incredible, just in the nick of time. 8 officers who responded to the incident were treated for smoke inhalation, and all of the residents that were in there got out safely. Eventually, by the way, all 20 units were significantly damaged. Some of them burned down to the ground, but all the residents obviously very lucky to be alive, thanks to our men and women in blue. And I always love heralding them here every night on The Rita Cosby Show. Well, we're talking about J.D. Vance because he did the White House press briefing. He was Caroline Leavitt today doing the White House press briefing, and he's kind of been the point person, as you could tell, on all this Iran stuff. You know, at one point you saw Marco Rubio, and today it was really the focus of J.D. Vance, who's been out there. And he's been a big supporter. I don't think it's any secret. It looks like he's clearly been a big supporter of kind of ending the war and moving on. He was the same way also essentially when it came to Ukraine, much more sort of focused on America than overseas. And so today, here he is. He's in the White House press briefing, a very different experience when he did it than when Marco Rubio did it and others. And he's been, of course, on the book tour too as well. And he was funny. He had some funny moments. And in fact, he made this comment about his recent appearance for his book when he was there on The View with the ladies of The View. And he compared Joy Behar to the Iranian regime. Listen to this.
I've seen some progressive criticisms of me personally saying, what experience does the Vice President of the United States have with hostile, high-stakes negotiations? And I would point those progressive critics to the fact that just 2 days ago I spent over an hour on The View. So I actually have great experience in very hostile negotiations, and I've used that. I mean, look, Joy Behar is way tougher than the Iranians, and she and I are best friends now. So we're going to get to a good place here. We're going to get to a good place. We're already at a good place. It's just a...
Very funny. And then he further said that this deal already is showing results. And it is. I mean, if you look at the gas prices coming down, the oil that went through, it was 12.5 million gallons of oil went through. That's an enormous amount. Just last night via free vessels, unfettered. They weren't stopped. They weren't attacked by the Iranians, at least for one night. That's a good start. And here's what J.D. Vance said about that.
I think the president's peace plan in Iran is already bearing real fruits for the American people. Last night, 12.5 million barrels of oil went through the Strait of Hormuz. That is a high since the beginning of the conflict. Oil prices are down nearly at their level from the pre-war conflict. Gas prices dropped below $4 a gallon today for the first time since the conflict. And importantly, they're going to keep falling further given how low oil prices are.
And that's a great sign. I mean, it's already incredible to see the results and imagine what it's going to be like as the summer goes on. There's no doubt that the market loves this. Americans like to know that the price at the pump is going to be cheaper as we're heading into even more of the summer driving season and vacation season and a whole bunch more. And then this briefing took a weird turn. And that's why I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. We were talking about it with Al from Yonkers because it was a weird turn. Listen to this. This is when he was asked, what do you make? Apparently, there was a question from a reporter about Israeli cabinet members critical of Trump. Now, I'm not sure who he's referring to because I didn't see any critical of Trump. And even still, he really went after Israel. And this was a shocking comment to hear from the sitting vice president of the United States. I did not like this. Take a listen.
Now, I saw the Axios report, that Netanyahu is fuming. That's not reflective of the conversations that I've had with him, but maybe he's saying something to somebody else that he's not saying to me. What I will say, and this does bother me, is that you have seen people within Bibi's cabinet who have come out and attacked the deal and in some ways very personally attacked the President of the United States. And I guess my message to them would be twofold. Number one, Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. And he happens to be the head of state of the world's superpower. If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. And the second message I would give to some of those cabinet members, Bibi, to his credit, has not gone down this path, but to some of these cabinet members in Israel who are attacking the President of the United States, the other thing that I would say is that over the last 3 months, 2/3 of the defensive weapons that have protected your homeland have been built by American hands and paid for by American tax dollars. The problem for Israel is not Donald J. Trump. And anybody in Israel who thinks their biggest problem is the President of the United States needs to wake up and smell the reality of the situation that country is in. Thank you all.
And that was the way he ended his press conference. It was like, whoa, did I just hear that? That he said Israel, that President Trump's the only head of state who is a sympathetic ally to Israel? That was shocking to me. And here is Mark Levin. We talked with him earlier on Katz and Cosby, and the great one, Mark Levin, was not happy with that either. Take a listen. I was watching J.D. Vance today. One of the things he did say, he said that, yes, Israel has a right to defend itself. And obviously President Trump 100% agrees with that, which is great. But he also said this, and this was kind of shocking to me. He said, Trump, he kind of scolded. He said, anybody in Israel who's critical of the deal or critical of Trump right now, saying Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who's sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this time. What
I thought that was disgusting. And I want you to know something. People are going back and looking at what these cabinet members said. Not a single one was critical of Israel. Of Trump. Not one. He's also wrong about not a single head of state. We know Hungary. We know Serbia. We know Argentina. I don't have the whole list in my head. That's simply not true. I'm not a big fan of things that he says like that. I think they're outrageous. He's talked about Iran in very cozy terms that, wow, they're getting like more reasonable and I think we can work with them. They actually sound pretty. Iran has killed thousands of Americans with Hezbollah. They've maimed thousands of Americans. Don't hand me this crap that they're reasonable and we can get along with them and everything else. Does anybody know what they believe? There's one guy in the world that has right on his desk right here, Islamic Government, written by the original Khomeini in English. You read this thing? No wonder it's called the Khomeini Mein Kampf. It is sick. It is brutal. It is a death cult. People are talking. They don't even know what we're dealing with. Let me tell you, the Iranians think right now that they won. Now, why do they think that? Because they're surviving. And they don't care how many die. They don't care how many planes they lose. They're there for the next decade and the next decade and the decade after that. Like the communist Chinese, they look at things in a 1,000-year period. That's how these people conduct themselves. We're Westerners. We have election cycles. We're fighting for the next election cycle. What about the price of oil? What about the stock market? This doesn't enter their heads. What they're thinking now is, okay, we ducked the biggest bullet we ever faced, and we survived. And you know in their head what they're saying? According to this book, they're stronger than ever. That God has protected them, Allah. And that Allah is telling them to fight on. Did you see what the supreme, whatever they call the supreme leader?
I saw that, Mark.
Yeah, you see the wiggle room he left in there? He leaves wiggle room. He says, look, these guys negotiated this. They did the best they could. That's okay. I'm not in the program, but I get what they're doing. In other words, the hardliners, they're all hardliners. For these guys, there's no moderates, or they'd be dead. This is what they go through. They did it with Obama. They did it with Biden. They did it with the Europeans. They did it with the IAEA. Once Trump's out, no holds barred. The Democrats win the presidency, they're going to walk all over them. And what's going to happen if they say, after they get all the money and everything's open, they say, you know what, we're ripping this damn thing up. What are you going to do about it? This is not over.
And sadly, I don't think it's over either, Mark. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Robert in Brooklyn, line 5. Robert, your thoughts tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Rita, for taking my call. Well, I would never vote for Vance. And if it's Vance versus like AOC, I'm just not going to vote. Vance. Wait.
Vance versus AOC. I mean, you got to be kidding me. You got a bartender who, is hanging around with Bernie Sanders and Zora Mondani, and you got J.D. Vance who's hanging around Trump. That should be a pretty easy call.
Well, Vance is a pathological anti-Semite, and I don't think he's psychologically suitable to be president. I will not choose between the lesser of two evils. I'll put it this way. I hope Marco Rubio wins. I will enthusiastically support Marco Rubio. Maybe Tulsi Gabbard. I don't know what her situation is with her, but I will definitely not vote for Vance. Now, in terms of Bibi Netanyahu, he's not just him, but the whole world is being screwed over, but especially Bibi. I advise Bibi to use the situation to annex the West Bank, a.k.a. Judea and Samaria. You should annex it. Bibi already told Trump today that he's going to continue his military campaign in Lebanon against Hezbollah. And President Trump already posted that he wants to cease fire in Lebanon. So Bibi's already saying in Lebanon he's not going to listen. He should also annex the West Bank, Judea and Samaria. And also, Bibi, if he feels Iran still constitutes a threat, he should send some of his Air Force planes and continue fighting Iran. I mean, this is ridiculous. Israel is an independent country. They're a sovereign country.
And he has said that, Robert, hold on. Bibi has said that he is not a party to this deal. That's sort of the message that's coming out there. Obviously, he wants to be respectful of the president, and President Trump has been a great ally to Israel. There's no doubt about that. But for J.D. Vance to say that the President Trump is the only head of state that is sympathetic, first of all, I don't believe that that's accurate, and I don't think that was a helpful remark at this time. And President Trump certainly, and J.D. Vance, to his credit today, still said that Israel has a right to defend itself. So I don't think they'll be surprised. What President Trump was talking about yesterday, and definitely J.D. Vance today, is the disproportionate response he was saying by Israel. Like Hezbollah shoots drones, he said, and they end up in the desert. And then the next thing you know, they say Israel's bombing an apartment building. Well, as I brought up, that apartment building had Hezbollah in it. So that's fair game. And I did not like when I heard J.D. Vance make those comments today. And it'll be interesting to see what other people respond to it. I think The other things that he said were very eloquent and very powerful and very forceful. But I found some of his comments about Israel. Mark Levin called it disgusting. You just heard. He was very offended by what J.D. Vance said. So where do you think it goes, though, Robert? Where do you think this goes from here? Because J.D. Vance was supposed to go tonight to Switzerland to have these talks with Iranian officials to hammer out the next 60 days, because that's the big deal. This was just sort of the pathway to it. And it just got canceled, according to multiple media reports.
Well, Rita, just in terms of the apartment building, which you mentioned, in one case, they didn't actually take down the whole apartment building. They targeted that one apartment, the specific apartment. Maybe there was a case they took down a whole apartment building. When you're in a war, Rita, when we were fighting Nazi Germany, we bombed Dresden.
Oh, yeah.
We did what we had to do.
Absolutely.
There's a certain amount of...
Robert, you're not hearing me. I understand why they did it, and I think all's fair in love and war. But where do we go from here? Just answer that.
Well, where you go from here? But from here, we shouldn't be here. He shouldn't regime change. Now, I have to address something that was said by Robert from Philadelphia yesterday and another caller. They said that this was the best deal that Trump could have gotten because he didn't want to get boots on the ground. Well, if like Stan said, I don't always agree with Stan, but he's right. If you start something, you got to finish it. Now, part of the problem is when you're talking about the apartment building, it shows a lack of willingness to do what you need to do. We bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki to win World War II against Japan. We bombed Dresden. Now, I want to say something about Trump. He gave a speech. He gave a Trump rally. This was in Virginia on February 29, 2016. So he was running against Hillary Clinton. He talked about that they had tremendous Islamic terrorism in the Philippines around 1918.
So what's your point? What's your point, Robert?
Well, the point was he talked about General Pershing, how they caught these 50 terrorists, and they put the bullets, they dipped it in pig's blood because they think they're not going to get their 70 virgins if they die with pig's blood. The 49 terrorists they killed. One of them, they let that terrorist survive. They let him go home and tell them what took place. And after he told them what took place, for 28 years, they had no terrorism. Because when I guess, so if it was me, if I was the commander-in-chief, I would kidnap the supreme leader and the leaders I ran. I stick a piece of bacon and ham in their mouth and shove it down their throat and cut their heads off one by one until we have unconditional surrender.
But Robert, by the way, you are very passionate. I will say, that I would have sent a cruise missile into the home of this supreme leader, because I do believe that the people that are still running that country, to your point, are deeply fanatic. Bacon or no bacon, they are definitely a bunch of pigs, and there is no question that they should not remain in power. And I don't like it either that they're still there in power. But I also do trust Trump. And he has gone further than any American president, and that is extremely commendable. Robert, thank you very much. Everybody will continue right after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And coming up on the Rita Cosby Show, we will continue to talk about Iran and also J.D. Vance, also a Democrat socialist paradise in New York, as they are really pushing to get probably one of the most extreme candidates in. That primary is next week. And also Rex Heuermann was in court this week, and this is the Gilgo Beach killer. And I am so happy to see this judge tear into this monster, the guy responsible for at least 8 murders. Also, Obama speaks out today and gave some kind of veiled comments to Donald Trump. He didn't even invite Donald Trump to his presidential library. I think that's really disgusting. It's really terrible. He absolutely should have invited him. Whether President Trump wants to go or not, that's a different matter. But he is a sitting president. He's also the former president, and he 100% should have at least been extended the invitation. Let's go to Gail in Pennsylvania, line 5. Go ahead, Gail, your thoughts.
Hi, Rita. The good thing I feel about the Republicans is that we can all have different opinions, whereas Democrats are always in lockstep. It's the party above everything. Republicans are more individualistic. We're for individual freedom instead of the collective. And I know people that are more pacifist Republicans that are angry with Vice President Vance. And then there are the more aggressive ones like Mark Levin who are angry at Vice President Vance. And in my opinion, there were no really good options for President Trump.
Yeah, I hear you. I think he was in a difficult situation, and I absolutely commend him for getting us to this moment, for pounding Iran. And I believe the good news is he'll pound them again if they, quote, don't behave.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?